Everything the show has been building toward finally collides in the last episode. Loyalties are broken, empires tremble, and the question of whether history is fate or choice takes center stage. The ending of Season 3, Episode 10 doesn't just close one chapter, it cracks open a new future for every character and every world. Let's dive straight into what happened and why it matters. The finale begins with tension in every corner of the galaxy. The Foundation has grown stronger, and its influence is no longer a rumor, it's a force that even the Empire cannot ignore. Throughout the season, we watched both sides maneuver for control. But in Episode 10, those moves finally reach their breaking point. The story doesn't waste time. Right from the first scenes, we see the Empire scrambling to hold on to power. Their strategies are crumbling under pressure, not just from external enemies but also from cracks inside their own dynasty. Brothers who were once united in image and duty are now divided by fear, suspicion, and doubt. That division sets the stage for the Empire's weakest moment yet. Meanwhile, the Foundation pushes forward with bold confidence. Characters like Gaal and Salvor have been carrying the weight of impossible choices all season, and Episode 10 places them at the very center of the storm. Hari Seldon's vision, once dismissed as cold mathematics, suddenly feels alive, pressing down on everyone with the weight of inevitability. What once seemed like predictions now feel like prophecies fulfilled in real time. The episode layers its tension carefully. On one side, we have scenes of battles brewing, fleets preparing to clash, and leaders trying to calculate the cost of every decision. On the other, the emotional stakes rise higher. Characters confront their own destinies, torn between following Seldon's plan or defying it. This balance between personal struggle and galactic scale is what makes the finale so gripping. Episode 10 also rewards viewers who paid attention. Many small hints from earlier episodes finally pay off. A piece of dialogue that once felt like casual foreshadowing suddenly strikes with new weight. A mysterious choice made by a character earlier in the season now becomes clear, showing that every step was leading to this moment. The writing reminds us that nothing in Foundation is random, every thread weaves into the larger tapestry of history. The pacing is deliberate but sharp. The show jumps between the Foundation and the Empire, each storyline echoing the other. While one side collapses under the burden of pride and tradition, the other rises through unity and belief. It's not just about who wins or loses a battle. It's about whose story survives. By the midpoint of the episode, the air is thick with the sense that the galaxy is shifting. The Foundation's ideas, once whispered in secret, now carry enough strength to challenge the very core of Empire's rule. At the same time, the Empire, though wounded, shows flashes of ruthless resilience, reminding us why they've held power for so long. This careful balance builds toward the final act. Every look, every conversation feels loaded with consequence. The characters are no longer just surviving the story, they're shaping the next chapter of galactic history. Episode 10 makes it clear, the ending isn't about one person or one empire falling. It's about the idea that history itself can bend under the weight of human choice. The final scenes of Episode 10 hit with the weight of inevitability, but also with the sting of surprise. The galaxy feels like it's holding its breath. Ships hover in orbit, armies wait for orders, and characters we've followed since the start finally stand at a crossroads where their choices will ripple through centuries. One of the most striking elements of the ending is how quiet it feels at first. Instead of rushing into action, the show slows down, forcing us to sit with the tension. Dialogue becomes sharper, pauses more dangerous, and every glance between characters feels like a battle in itself. This silence is not empty, it's charged. Like the stillness before a storm, Hari Seldon's presence looms larger than ever, even when he isn't physically in the room. His plan, his calculations, his so-called inevitable future becomes a ghost that haunts everyone. For the Empire, this ghost feels like a curse, a constant reminder that their dynasty is fated to fall. For the Foundation, it's both a comfort and a prison. Yes, they are the future, but are they free? Or are they simply actors reading from a script written long ago? Then, the cracks begin to widen. The Empire's leadership faces betrayal from within, and the fog of eternal rule collapses in real time. What once looked like an unshakable dynasty suddenly reveals itself as fragile, broken by fear and pride. The ending makes this collapse painfully intimate. It's not just fleets being destroyed, it's a family devouring itself. The clones, once mirrors of perfection, are now shadows of doubt, and that unraveling feels more devastating than any explosion. On the Foundation's side, the choices are no easier. Gaal and Salvor are forced to confront a truth that no equation could prepare them for. Destiny carries a cost. The show doesn't present them as flawless heroes, but as people wrestling with the impossible weight of being symbols for an entire future. Their final decisions don't just affect their lives, they shape the trajectory of civilizations yet to be born. The sacrifice, the hesitation, the raw humanity in their actions, this is what makes the finale unforgettable. Visually, the show mirrors this theme of fate versus choice. The stars and planets framed in the background remind us of scale, one individual against an entire galaxy. Yet the camera lingers on faces, not fleets. The story reminds us that history doesn't only belong to empires, it belongs to people who dare to defy them. The very last moments strike like a closing note in a symphony. What could have been a neat resolution is instead left raw, jagged, and filled with questions. The Empire's throne no longer feels like a seat of power, but a ticking time bomb. The Foundation's victory is not a triumph, but a burden, leaving us to wonder what they've truly won. And then, there's that final shot. A moment designed to echo in the mind long after the credits roll. It's not just a cliffhanger, it's a statement. A reminder that in the world of Foundation, endings are never simple. They're the beginning of something larger, something stranger, and something far more dangerous than anyone can predict. Episode 10's ending isn't about closure, it's about opening a door. A door to rebellion, to reinvention, and to the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, Hari Seldon's plan wasn't the final word after all. The finale of Foundation Season 3 isn't just about ships in space or thrones crumbling, it's about ideas. Episode 10 hides some of its biggest punches in plain sight, wrapping them in dialogue, visuals, and choices that speak louder than the battles themselves. When you look closely, the ending is less about who won and more about what kind of future is possible. The first major theme is fate versus free will. Hari Seldon's plan has always been the backbone of the series, promising a map of the future so precise it can predict centuries of human behavior. But in this episode, the plan feels less like a safety net and more like a chain. Gaal, Salvor, and others are forced to ask themselves, are we living, or are we performing roles already written for us? The episode lingers on this question through silences, through the weight of hesitation, and through the haunting feeling that maybe freedom comes only when someone dares to step outside the script. The second theme is the decay of power. The Empire, designed to appear eternal, is exposed as fragile. The clones were once symbols of order, a dynasty immune to change. Yet by episode 10, they are crumbling under paranoia, jealousy, and doubt. This collapse isn't just political, it's psychological. The Empire's greatest weakness isn't the Foundation's fleets, it's the rot within its own walls. This speaks to a larger truth. Power doesn't vanish because someone takes it away. It collapses when it forgets why it existed in the first place. Another hidden layer is the idea of sacrifice. Nearly every major character faces a cost in the finale. Some sacrifice their lives, others sacrifice their freedom, and some sacrifice their faith in the plan itself. The show doesn't present these choices as noble or tragic, they're messy, human, and full of contradiction. That's what makes them powerful. In the world of Foundation, progress doesn't come cheap. Someone always pays the price, even if they don't realize it until it's too late. There's also a subtler theme of cycles versus change. The Empire represents the cycle, the same ruler, the same throne, the same pattern repeating endlessly. The Foundation represents change, an unpredictable, messy push towards something new. Episode 10 makes this contrast visually striking. Sterile halls of the palace against the vast unknown of space, rigid clones against flawed yet evolving individuals. The question is left hanging. Can humanity truly break the cycle, or are we doomed to repeat the same mistakes with new names and new faces? Finally, the ending plays with the theme of belief as power. The Foundation's strength isn't just ships or technology, it's the faith of people in an idea bigger than themselves. Meanwhile, the Empire survives not because it's just, but because people believe it's eternal. Episode 10 shows these beliefs colliding, forcing us to wonder which story will dominate the galaxy, the story of control or the story of survival. What makes this section of the finale so powerful is how layered it is. You can watch it as a thrilling sci-fi drama and enjoy every explosion, but if you look closer, you see the show wrestling. When the credits roll on episode 10, what stays with us isn't just a spectacle of collapsing empires or rising foundations, it's the human cost. The finale turns its lens toward the people at the center of the storm, reminding us that history may be written on a galactic scale, but it is carried by fragile individuals. Hari Seldon looms like a phantom across the finale. Even when he isn't physically present, his ideas dominate every conversation, every decision. By this point, he feels less like a man and more like a force of nature, a ghost guiding, haunting, and sometimes tormenting those who follow his plan. The consequence of his arc is clear. Hari has won, but at a cost. His brilliance ensures the Foundation's survival, yet it strips those around him of their freedom. The haunting irony is that while Hari claims to serve humanity, he often sacrifices humanity itself, the feelings, the chaos, the unpredictability for the sake of order. His shadow will not fade after episode 10. It will only grow. Gaal carries the weight of destiny more than anyone. Throughout the season, she has wrestled with her role, visionary, leader, or pawn. The finale sharpens this conflict. She sees the plan not as a gift but as a burden, one that steals the very thing she fought for: choice. In episode 10, every pause, every hesitation reflects her struggle to reclaim her voice in a story already written for her. Her arc ends not with triumph but with a question: can she bend the plan to her will, or will the plan bend her? The consequence of her journey is a heavier crown than any throne could offer. Salvor Hardin becomes the embodiment of sacrifice. Her choices in the finale carry emotional weight that echoes far beyond her own life. While Gaal represents the dream of the future, Salvor represents the cost of reaching it. Her arc teaches us that the galaxy doesn't move forward because of destiny alone, it moves forward because someone is willing to give up what they love for something greater. The consequence is heartbreaking but inevitable. Salvor's legacy will shape others, even if she herself is lost to history. Then there is the Empire. The Cleons have always stood as a monument to control, perfect copies maintaining a perfect lie of stability. But in episode 10, their thought collapses. For the first time, the dynasty feels human, flawed, fragile, and fractured. Betrayal rots them from within, and paranoia becomes their undoing. The consequence is devastating. Their power no longer feels eternal. The Cleons are no longer gods. They are just men. And that realization may prove more dangerous than any battle. Because an empire that realizes its own mortality can become reckless, desperate, and far more violent in its decline. Even the secondary characters reflect this theme of consequence. Allies, soldiers, and leaders who chose sides in this finale are now marked by those choices. Some gain faith, others lose it entirely. The episode makes it clear, in the world of Foundation, no decision is ever small. Every action echoes across time, shaping futures in ways no one can fully see. The brilliance of episode 10 lies in how it refuses to give anyone a clean victory. No character walks away whole. Hari is consumed by his own vision. Gaal inherits a destiny she may not want. Salvor pays the ultimate price. The Empire loses its illusion of immortality. Each arc is left raw, unfinished, and filled with consequence, making the finale feel less like an ending and more like a wound that will scar the story forever. The consequence for the audience is just as heavy. We're forced to carry these characters with us into the unknown. Their choices, their sacrifices, and their failures are not just plot points, they are questions. Questions about destiny, power, and the cost of survival. And those questions will echo long after the screen fades to black. The ending of episode 10 doesn't feel like a conclusion, it feels like the ignition of a much larger fire. Every choice, every betrayal, and every sacrifice leaves behind sparks that season 4 is almost certain to fan into full-blown infernos. What makes this finale so compelling is not what it answers, but what it dares to leave unanswered. First, the collapse of the empire. The once eternal dynasty has shown its cracks, and those cracks are widening. Without unity at the core, the Cleons no longer project stability, they project weakness. That weakness is dangerous, not just for the empire itself, but for the galaxy at large. A wounded empire can lash out harder than a strong one, and season 4 may show us the fury of rulers desperate to cling to fading power. The throne isn't empty yet, but it is unstable, and instability invites challengers. The seeds of rebellion have been planted. On the other side, the Foundation's victory is far from clean. Yes, they have survived. And yes, Hari's plan still marches forward, but the cost of that survival has left scars. Leaders like Gaal carry doubts that cannot be erased, and the question of free will versus destiny is now louder than ever. Season 4 is poised to explore this tension. Will the Foundation continue to walk the path Hari laid out, or will they dare to carve their own? If someone breaks from the plan, the consequences could reshape not just the Foundation, but the entire galaxy. Then there's the mystery of legacy. Salvor's sacrifice, Hari's shadow, and Gaal's uncertain leadership all raise questions about what kind of future is being built. The finale hints that the story isn't just about empires falling, it's about the kind of civilization that will rise in their place. Will it be one guided by cold calculation, or one guided by human choice? Season 4 might finally test whether the mathematics of the plan can survive the chaos of real human hearts. Another thread quietly set up is the emergence of new powers. The galaxy is vast, and Episode 10 reminds us that both the Empire and the Foundation are only parts of a much larger picture. Whispers of other groups, other civilizations, and other threats loom beyond the edges of what we've seen. The finale's closing moments hint at shadows moving in the dark, forces not yet revealed, but waiting for their turn to strike. Season 4 may bring these hidden players into the spotlight, raising the stakes beyond the Foundation and the Empire. Finally, the most chilling setup comes from the sense that Hari Seldon's plan may not be absolute. For 3 seasons, the plan has been treated like scripture, a flawless design. But Episode 10 leaves us with the terrifying possibility that the plan has blind spots, cracks, or even flaws. If the plan can be broken, then everything changes. Season 4 may not just be about following the plan, it may be about surviving without it. The brilliance of Episode 10's ending is how it reshapes the story's scale. What began as a tale of one man's vision has grown into a war of civilizations, a struggle between belief and doubt, destiny and choice, order and chaos. Season 4 is set to push these conflicts to their breaking point, promising not just battles, but reckoning. So when the screen fades to black, it doesn't leave us with closure. It leaves us with a galaxy in flux, leaders on the edge of collapse, and a future that is anything but certain. Season 4 is not just a continuation, it feels like the beginning of an entirely new era, where every victory hides a price and every plan hides a flaw. The brilliance of the Foundation Season 3 finale isn't just in what it shows, it's in what it refuses to reveal. Episode 10 leaves behind shadows, questions, and possibilities that almost beg the audience to argue, speculate, and piece together their own version of the future. This is where the show truly thrives, the space between what's on screen and what could still unfold. One of the biggest questions is Hari Seldon's true control over the plan. The finale presents him as both mastermind and ghost. But fans are left wondering, has the plan been moving forward flawlessly, or are cracks already spreading beneath the surface? Some theories suggest Hari knew about these cracks and allowed them, believing unpredictability would strengthen the plan. Others argue the opposite, that Hari has lost control entirely, and the so-called inevitable future is already collapsing. If this theory is true, then Season 4 could turn the plan itself into the galaxy's most dangerous lie. Another popular theory revolves around the downfall of the Cleon dynasty. Episode 10 shows us that their supposed immortality is over, but the question remains who or what replaces them. Some fans speculate that the Empire could fragment into rival factions, sparking a galactic civil war. Others wonder if the throne itself will fall into the hands of someone unexpected, a character outside the bloodline, or perhaps even someone shaped by the Foundation. The possibility of a new kind of empire is one of the juiciest questions the finale leaves behind. Then there's Gaal's role as a reluctant prophet. Her visions of the future raise the question, is she still bound by Hari's plan, or has she become something outside of it? Fans theorize that Gaal could become the first true challenger to psychohistory, a leader who doesn't just follow the equations but redefines them. Others believe her visions are traps, designed to push her into choices that will ultimately serve the plan whether she likes it or not. The tension between destiny and agency surrounding Gaal might be the key to Season 4's biggest twists. Salvor's arc also raises heartbreaking theories. Her sacrifice in Episode 10 feels final, but fans are asking if her presence might continue in other ways. Will her legacy influence Gaal's choices? Will she return in flashbacks or visions, becoming a guiding force even in death? Some viewers even speculate that psychohistory itself could preserve echoes of her, folding her into the plan in ways we haven't yet seen.